Welcome to Planning for Citizen Science Month 2025. Jumpstart your planning. Citizen Science Month is in April, so we are doing this super early because A, we know libraries love to plan things super early for our library friends that are here, and B, we have a lot of new things to show you from past years. And new things, so we're excited. All right, let's launch our first poll here. We're going to be in Mentimeter today, so if you are not familiar with Mentimeter, you just go to menti.com and use this code. I'm going to copy the code for you all in the chat. See if I can copy it. You should be able to go there. How have you participated in Citizen Science Month in the past? Check all that apply. So for those that haven't, I'd love to know that. Also, have you participated in a project as a citizen scientist? Have you reported your act or acts of science to the 1 Million Acts of Science campaign? Have you hosted an event or have been to an event or hosted an event? Which of the following have you done in the past?
Looks like some of us are figuring out how to use Mentimeter. Just a reminder, if you just click the link in the chat, you can jump straight to the poll that tells you where to answer it, or where to go, and you can click as many as you'd like. Can't find link. All right, I will resend it. It's just a couple of, oh, it went to hosts and panelists, that's why.
Oh, okay, whoops.
Oh no,
Sorry,
no
I'm
wonder.
not used to, there we go, okay.
Oh, double posted.
I'm not used to webinar. I'm used to meeting.
Sorry, we can't see your faces.
Okay, now you should be able to go to the chat and click the link. There we go. All right, so we have a bunch of folks that have not participated yet, which is great because that means we'll have more participation next year. Lots of folks that have reported their acts or participated in projects, and then a subset of folks that have facilitated or hosted a program or have been to a citizen science event. I guess if you've hosted a program, you've also been to a citizen science event. So the logic there might have skewed this a little bit. Just kidding. Okay. Thank you for that. Oops. All right, so our agenda today. For those that might not be familiar with citizen science and Citizen Science Month, we're going to do a very high-level overview of what those are. There's lots more resources to get into the nitty-gritty of what is citizen science and what is Citizen Science Month, but we're going to just spend a few minutes on that just so that we're all speaking the same language. And then Emma's going to take you through some highlights from last year, what events happened, what were our goals, and what were our impact numbers. And then we're going to get into how to host events and programs during Citizen Science Month, what those look like. We are joined by a wonderful panel today. Folks that hosted programming last year during Citizen Science Month are going to tell you about their programs. And then you're going to hear about our new resources, both the SciStarter Ambassador program and other resources like the webpage that we launched today, the new updated webpage. And then next steps. So the power of citizen science. Raise your hand or use an emoji if you are familiar with citizen science. Can they use emojis in?
Yes, for anyone who's not sure, if you go to the
okay, I like that. Oh, I see. Nice. Hearts. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at that feature on the side there. Cool. So what is citizen science and what is it not? How is it different than other STEM programming that you might be facilitating? So there's many different definitions for citizen science. You might hear it called community science, participatory research, but our sort of general definition is that it's a global movement, because we are seeing it happen all over the world, that enables people from all walks of life, from young children to seniors, to contribute to real scientific research in collaboration with scientists. So the real scientific research piece is what distinguishes it from the other STEM programming that you might be doing with your audiences. So citizen science can involve observing biodiversity and the night sky, for example, and logging those observations via an app, via a website. It can involve monitoring very popular projects in the citizen science world involve monitoring things such as air quality, pollinator activity, bird migration. Measuring. Citizen science can involve measuring things like your water quality, light pollution, which recently I saw the aurora borealis for the first time. My bucket list here in on the East Coast, but it could have been better with with less light pollution. And marine debris tracking is really something that's important to measure. Citizen science can involve analyzing things online, like videos and images, and other data sets that scientists have. Sometimes scientists have too much data and they need help from people to analyze it. And also it can involve collecting photos and samples. And the beauty of citizen science is that it really can happen anywhere in your backyard, while exploring your interests through your hobbies. It can involve collaboration with friends and families in your community. And that is why we love citizen science and this approach to science engagement with your audiences. Here's just some quick facts about what we know because of citizen scientists. We know that 126 bird species have been identified as lost to science because they haven't been seen in so long. We know that hundreds of exoplanets have been discovered, including one in a habitable zone named Percival. In one weekend, 3.5 months of lab work were the equivalent to 3.5 months of lab work were completed in one weekend through volunteer hours on a project called Stall Catchers. So we're seeing actual tangible effects of accelerated research. We are discovering things like invasive ants spread by hitchhiking. And my all-time favorite is we know that the human belly button contains 50+ species of bacteria, and we know that because citizen scientists swabbed their belly buttons all around the world and said, I don't know if it's all around the world, maybe I'm making that up, but they sent their belly button swabs back to the lab for scientists to analyze, and we know that. Really interesting fact that I'm sure is relevant in some way. All right, Emma's gonna now take you through what is Citizen Science Month and how does it really celebrate this wonderful endeavor. Emma, take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, so all of you here are hopefully here also because you saw the title being about Citizen Science Month and preparing for it. So we're going to talk through what it is and how what we've accomplished so far and our future goals for 2025 April. And you can go ahead and move it forward. So first of all, what is Citizen Science Month? It's generally a big excuse to party it up citizen science style. We want to take the whole month and do as much citizen science as humanly possible. It's a big celebration across the month where we feature hundreds of events, and there's over 1,000 projects on SciStarter, along with all the other ones that exist that have not found SciStarter yet. And we want to celebrate you as a part of that community. You can go ahead and next slide. Once it gets there. There we go. And if you were with us last year, you might know that we rebranded or added a campaign on top of Citizen Science Month called 1 Million Acts of Science. We essentially instituted a goal to reach for by the end of April to see if we can get 1 million acts of science, which essentially is on the next slide. We'll learn about what it is that is, but it's the Citizen Science Month project is developed by SciStarter and ASU, Arizona State University, and with support from NNLM and the All of Us research program to make this big month happen and to celebrate all of you. And when we call it 1 Million Acts of Science with that rebranding, what we mean by that is, next slide, we mean that every participation in a citizen science project, every bit of attendance to these events in which you are learning about citizen science, any contribution you make to a project or a analysis of an image on Zooniverse, for example, all of those independent actions, those are all an act of science. And we developed this as a way to have a better grasp at communicating with people on what they're actually accomplishing, because that is what citizen science's aim is to impact real research and science at large. So as a part of doing your acts of science, it's essentially like an act of service towards science research. And a bunch of examples here to help you remember what that means. You can go ahead and skip the next slide. Awesome. So if you were with us last year, this might look familiar. This is a very condensed calendar of events for April. It was a lot of fun to create and a lot of things happening. Throughout the entire month, we had featured projects for you all. We featured some events. We partnered with different organizations to host events for you all, such as on Earth Day, where we talked with the Wild Hope group to talk about activities you could do to celebrate Earth Day. We did a marathon style palooza of projects. We do a whole lot during April as SciStarter itself and with our partners. But a part of the benefit of this coming year, which I'm kind of speaking a little thought into right there, is that we're widening its reach, and this will look probably a lot bigger and a lot happening throughout the month, where I don't think we'll be able to fit it on a page like this anymore. But we are hoping to expand it because we are still going to aim for that 1 million acts of science and get everyone involved and excited and celebrating throughout the month. Go ahead and, oh, actually, while you're looking at this, if you're curious about our actual or our real count, not real, our current calendars, I'm dropping a link in the chat for you. We have calendars now since April every month, and so you can see October's calendar there too. Go ahead to the next slide. They're not as intense as April, though. So what did we learn? So from last year's Citizen Science Month, we aimed for 1 million acts of science, and we totally hit 1 million acts of science. We hit it before the end of the month. We hit it by April 24th. And so we learned a lot about the impact of, let's say, the eclipse, for example. We had a lot of participants going to eclipse programming. We also found out that of the participants that we could see, a third of them did more than one project. They did 2 or more. They were really invested. They wanted to do more projects and not just stick to one. So we know that people, once they're in the door, they want to do more. And so it's a really unique opportunity to grow someone's involvement in these types of activities. We also reached 23 million followers with our posts on social media, which is kind of impossible for me to fathom. It's unfathomable to me right now. We also had 500,000 people, nearly 500,000 people joining us as reporting acts of science and making contributions within the month from 126 countries that we know of being a part of this. And we contributed to over 700 projects. And a lot of events were a part of that too. So a lot of projects benefited from us doing these things. And then on the next slide, there's a couple more fun facts about our April of 2024. We did over 250 events, and a lot of them were through library. So if you're representing a library today, you're a really strong partner of ours, and we want to make sure you're supported. And so all of your amazing events that you did last year, we want to be able to count them. And so we know at least 250 events were happening, and a lot of them from you libraries. We also heard from participants, and so we do survey and do evaluation as a part of Citizen Science Month to really understand its impact and improve it for future years, which we'll talk about again later as well. And we found out that we had really excellent or good experiences. We also knew that people were likely to participate in more projects after events they were part of, and they would recommend Citizen Science to others and make a point to say that this was a unique and powerful experience for them. All right, next slide.
I was going to say, Angie said,
Yeah.
once you start a project, it is hard to not find yourself in another, such as Cocoa Raws and then Mushroom Project, LOL.
Oh yeah, it's almost addicting. Or you find your one project and you just give it all, your all and keep participating.
I was also going to just mention, you mentioned the libraries here, which, this webinar is for everybody. We did also target libraries specifically because of their engagement. I'm curious if for the librarians here, if you can throw up an emoji hand. I'm curious how many libraries are joining us today.
Or even if you feel so motivated, you can write in what library branch you're a part of in the chat.
Absolutely.
We'd love to know.
We would love that.
Sweet. Awesome. And I love the emojis. That works too. Awesome. So what are we planning on? What are our goals for Citizen Science Month? And these have evolved over time, but some of them have remained similar. So in the last 2 years, our goal 1 and goal 2 have essentially been the same, but they've grown in the ways in which we're interacting with them. So our goal number 1 being increasing awareness of and participation in citizen science. That's kind of an obvious one where it feels like a small world sometimes, but so many people know about citizen science now where we're just trying to make that participation and capacity even larger. And so in goal number 2, increasing the capacity of facilitators and organizations, we're speaking specifically to you all, people who want to plan for events and engage the public in your communities and want to make an impact and build something out of Citizen Science Month for your unique community. And so as a part of that too, which we will talk about briefly later, but we're offering now as a public database of SciStarter ambassadors trained as people who you can look to for advice, which you can also talk to us, but you can look to them for advice, or even if they're in your nearby area, they can actually help you do your program. So we're building on top of our goals to make more programs that will fit those goals. And then lastly, we're focusing especially on this this coming year in 2025, April, to amplify the outcomes of scientific research. We sometimes we need to recognize that science is kind of slow. Sometimes there's long periods of time where we collect data before we can actually come and find anything else, find things out about it, find results. And so because that process can be slow, it's kind of hard sometimes to hear back from citizen science projects and hear what we have accomplished. And so this year we're really focusing in on what can we do to really communicate those back to your audiences, to make sure they're sustaining their engagement because they care about what they developed, and not just submitting a project or submitting a picture and then walking away and then they never find out what happened. Like, what is the real impact of what they're accomplishing? Next slide. Thank you. All right, and I will pause, or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, any questions? We have like maybe 2 minutes for questions if anybody wants to throw questions in the chat at this point about just the big picture, citizen science and Citizen Science Month.
And if you are curious about more outcomes, by the by, I'm going to drop a link in the chat to our Citizen Science Month 2024 outcomes blog post. It has a lot of information on there, so definitely good later reading for you. And if you have any additional questions from there too, you can always reach out.
Nancy had a question in the Q&A also. Will we be able to get a copy of the calendar like this for 2025? And the answer is yes, absolutely. It is not ready yet. We are coordinating with a lot of partners to get that together, but it will absolutely be ready and available. Definitely. Far in advance for you to be able to promote it with your audiences. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Hosting events and programs. So we're going to go through a couple of event examples, different projects, and then we're going to hear from our panel today on what they did and in their specific settings, and go through some resources. Okay, so just to go back, citizen science is different than other STEM programming because it not only teaches people about science, but it really engages people in collecting and sharing observations and data back with researchers. And so there's lots of ways to connect citizen science projects to STEM or science activities that are already happening in your libraries and in your organizations and in your communities. And that's a really great place to start. So Emma, take us through some of these examples of how we can take the things that we care about and turn them into citizen science.
All right, yeah, so there are a lot of different projects that essentially are just like add-ons, and so you can just build and enhance current existing programs. You don't need to work from scratch. These are two examples, and there's a bunch more in the following slide, but the first one being, if you are an organization that wants to do some tree planting, that's awesome. There are also projects like Globe Observer, in which you can track biomass and document the height of trees and compare it to satellite data from NASA. And so we get to study a lot more based on you're already doing a program, but then you just add on a little bit of extra and add some analysis and submitting of data to actually make it much more impactful beyond your community. In beach cleanup examples, they're awesome, but the benefit of using citizen science within beach cleanups or litter cleanups, wherever you are, is that beyond just cleaning it up, you're also identifying trends. And so as a part of MyCoast, Marine Debris Tracker, Litter Journal, all three of those are different projects, you can track the brands that you're seeing of litter, the types of litter, and you can actually make changes in your community based on what you find with the data afterwards. And it helps promote the bigger database of what are we finding in litter trends over time. And on the next slide, we have another 4 examples that I'll sneak through pretty quickly here. And we do have this is also a poster, by the by. So if any of you are like, this is amazing, which I really like this poster, we will give you access to it shortly.
Emma made it, so full disclosure, that's what she loves.
Big fan.
It's a really good
fan of my work.
No, I love it. No, it's very good. We love it.
For bird watching, a lot of people are birders. It's so popular nowadays. And so if you have birders in your community, you can also add on some extra activities like eBird, where you're identifying the specific birds you're finding and impacting our ideas of like population counts. You can also submit pictures to iNaturalist or help identify organisms on iNaturalist when you're doing wildlife activities, because we need help to make all those iNaturalist observations research grade data, make it real impactful research, and collecting as many pictures as we can of wildlife. In number 4, we have gardening. So if you already have a pollinator garden, or you have a garden that could turn into a pollinator garden, or just be a garden in general, maybe it's a culinary garden, etc., you can use that location as a spot for other types of monitoring, like the Great Sunflower Project, where we're tracking the health of pollinators in the area. And you can track over time the pollination changes. So you can do it for your own community in addition to giving it to the bigger picture database. If you have a hobbyist group of astronomers or amateur astronomers, you can add in to stargazing, you can add in projects like light pollution monitoring projects like Globe at Night and Loss of the Night, which is basically little mini activities where at Globe at Night, you're looking at the stars and you're identifying how many stars you see in a constellation. It helps inform how intense the light pollution is. And Lost of the Night goes after a similar idea. In addition to stargazing, if there's a cloudy day, you can also have your amateur astronomers come indoors and look at computer screens where they can actually identify different celestial items from telescope data. So if there's
NASA
ever
has a lot of data that they need people to look at.
so much. There's so much. And there's so many different types too. You can be looking for faraway galaxies. You could be looking at identifying distance between us and the thing through Redshift Wrangler and so on. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you do after school activities, that number 6 one is another one where it's on computers, but there are plenty where you don't have to be on computers. Where if you have students who are super into video games, there's plenty of gamified citizen science projects where people can go online and ask or answer simple questions of yes or no, like in stall catchers, where you're looking at a blood vessel in a mouse brain and seeing if it's clogged, stalled, or flowing. And that helps us inform Alzheimer's research and whether or not certain medications are working in their research. And that's about it for this slide. There are so many more projects that you can do this with, though, so I'm not telling you to limit yourself. If there is a topic you already address, you can just look up, as you see in the left-hand side, I looked up astronomy and space and looked up SciStarter affiliates, so it's trackable. And you can see 11 pages of 10 projects. We have 110 projects listed here. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to, or one of 11, I'm sorry. It's 2 pages, so 11, that seemed way too high for me. So 11 projects in which that would be a really impactful thing to do to add on to those existing projects. All right, that's about it for those.
Thank you, Emma. So just based on some of those ideas, actually looking back to 2024, if you hosted an event or program, what did it look like? We're curious. So you're going to go back to the Menti here. I'll put it back in the chat.
And I'll write in an example from our events too.
And then Emma, there's a question in the Q&A from Nancy. I don't know how to answer it. Any way to connect Journey North to SciStarter, like iNaturalist programs are linked?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and just add our email in there actually. So Nancy, if you could reach out to us, because I remember for Journey North, I'm just not sure what system we'd have to use. But yeah, if any of you run projects or are connected to projects that you'd like to have become affiliates, you can reach out to us at info@scistarter.org. Because I'm not the computer scientist, but we use an API key to link projects. And there's a multitude of ways in which you can do that. So we can chat about it, Nancy.
Okay, so some events or programs hosted during Citizen Science Month last year. A BioBlitz for biodiversity monitoring. Wonderful. That's a very popular one. iNaturalist webinar. I'm assuming maybe that was like an introduction to iNaturalist. That's wonderful, right? These projects, your events could be introductions to the projects as well. We created bags that people could take that had all the measuring devices and information on how to register trees on iCtree. Love it. Light pollution monitoring, a catch-a-thon. We hosted a BioBlitz and a stall catcher activity, spoke to hundreds of people at Gardens on Pollinators, an eclipse viewing event where we collected data with Globe Observer and eclipse soundscapes, eclipse, globe cloud, birds, migration, bird bingo, and city nature challenge. Yay! These look wonderful.
I'm loving the iCtree comment that we created bags that people could take that had all the measuring devices and information on how to register trees on iCtree. I did an event with a group that did that activity and it was super fun. So definitely nice to have a way to do like almost a take and make situation.
There's another tree. Someone said neighborhood forest with add-on of the Globe Observer trees. Wonderful. Okay. Oops. I didn't want to do that. Catch-a-thon. Okay. All right. Turning it back over to Emma to introduce our panelists.
Sweet. Yeah, so all three of our panelists are wonderful people that we have online with us, and their faces will be visible in a moment here. We have Sarah Triplehorn, who is the Sciences and Sustainability Librarian at San Diego State University. And we have Paul List, who is the Conservation Engagement Specialist for the Northeast Wisconsin Land Trust, and also a certified SciStarter Ambassador, woot woot. And then we have Brianna Lamb, who is a branch manager at the Franklin County Library of the Arkansas River Valley, and also part of our pilot ambassador program. So we're really excited to have her back on to still be chatting with us. So I'm going to pass it over to Sarah to talk about what she did in April 2024 and what that meant for her, how it went, and what she's planning on for next year.
Thank you, Emma and Tara. And just as a precursor, I came into this job as the sciences librarian and really wanted to see how I could connect with my community. So this is kind of how I have used this work. For Citizen Science Month, we really piloted citizen science, and I reached out to Tara and Emma and just for some guidance on what to do. So basically, I went through to see what was available and what would tie into our programming and what aligned with our vision and mission of the university as well. So pretty much what we chose were projects that were easy to do, low entry, no budget. I developed a LibGuide to go with it. I reached out to all my faculty to see what was happening. So the ones that we chose were all of us data collection, because we in the library are being trained through also an All of Us grant to teach our researchers how to use the All of Us data. So this really tied into that. The other one that we chose was LitterJournal, and that was from student input because they were really concerned about the plastic litter on campus. And although it was through the South Carolina Aquarium, that is still important information. So I couldn't track where our data went, but we ran a workshop on that and the students were really engaged. And then finally, we also had an iNaturalist workshop teaching them how to use iNaturalist. And the really cool thing of that, which kind of went in a roundabout way, I chose iNaturalist. And then somebody on campus reached out to say that all the data being collected during the City Nature Challenge, which was kind of when ours fell, was actually being collected by the San Diego State University Biodiversity Museum, which was really cool. And I had a lot of engagement with that. They sent their students across to me to learn how to do it. And we got the live stats as they were coming in from the City Nature Challenge, which I could feed back to the students. So they really were excited. And what was really exciting was the education part of it, was that anybody can do this. You don't have to be a science major to be doing this. And we really had just fun engagement. And it was a really interesting way, as any of you who are academic librarians, to reach out to your community so we can really try to tie in like what they are doing. So that's kind of our next steps this year for 2025 will be to see if we can identify any other projects on campus that are needing data collection and really look local. So my takeaways are: look to your community, see what their interest is, and kind of run with that. So I've had so much interest coming out of our kind of pilot program that we really are going to establish this as obviously highlighting Citizen Science Month, but we are hoping to have this as kind of an annual programming event.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Yeah, I've loved our partnership so far. Learning every time I talk to you and hearing what you're accomplishing is amazing. So if anyone works in academic libraries, especially, I dropped a link to a recent blog post that I asked Sarah to write for you all, and for any libraries really, but and she did an amazing job. And that library guide, if you're interested in that, it is also in the chat as well. And I'm going to pass the baton over to Paul to talk about his work with the Land Trust. Can you skip the slide forward, Tara? Eventually. Disappeared for a minute. There you are.
All right, thank you, Emma. So yeah, my name is Paul. I work with the Northeast Wisconsin Land Trust. We're a group that manages a variety of different properties, protected natural areas up here in Wisconsin, including a number that are managed. We manage them as public nature preserves. Been doing that for a while, the organization has, but more recently been trying to expand the ways we connect with our community, trying to offer new ways for our members and just other people in the community to connect with the properties that we protect and with conservation in general. So we've been trying to incorporate a lot of different citizen science activities with that, including last year was our first time trying to do anything with Citizen Science Month. Can you go and skip to the next slide? So one of the things that I did, when I first started the job was set up an iNaturalist project to collect all the different observations made on any of our public preserves. So it collects those, just automatically anytime someone goes out there without having to even join a project. So that's been a good way for us to just get a sense of who all is visiting our preserves and get a better sense of what different species are out there. We've also been doing a few different events using iNaturalist, different BioBlitz type events to try to get people out on our preserves and actually coordinate that effort to go out and monitor some of the different biodiversity. That was probably our big event that we did last year for Citizen Science Month. We did it as kind of an Earth Day event, where that weekend we went out on one of our newest preserves and brought like around 15 or so people, I think, came out. And we just tried to explore the preserve and document as many different plants, animals, and fungi as we could find. Looking ahead to next year, we're hoping to do something similar again, similar type of BioBlitz. This time, probably line it up with City Nature Challenge during that last weekend of April. So we're going to kind of continue to promote Citizen Science Month throughout the month, continue to share, that calendar, some of the resources and webinars and things that SciStarter and other groups put together, sharing those out with our community throughout the month of April, and then having this BioBlitz be kind of our culminating event at the end of April. And again, in conjunction with all the other people doing City Nature Challenge events that weekend as well. We're also hoping to try to incorporate more with the SciStarter Ambassador program, which I believe Emma and Tara are going to talk about here later in this webinar. But hoping to get, myself went through the training, hoping to get some of our other members and supporters trained as ambassadors as well, and be able to, use that as a resource to help our membership conduct their own sorts of activities and engagement out with the community. That was not just me trying to do all these events. We're able to then expand our reach and do multiple events, maybe at multiple different preserves, all kind of towards that same goal of citizen science and biodiversity monitoring.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Paul. We're so glad to have you on the ambassador team too. It's exciting.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
our first group, so we're excited to see what you learn and what we learn from you as well. Passing the baton over to Brianna.
Hello, I am the branch manager at the Franklin County Public Library, and we are a rural library in Arkansas. We're a part of a 7-branch system, so all of our programs are all age based. We have birth to end that we take care of. But with citizen science, we last year focused on the eclipse because we were in totality. So there was a lot of community events. A lot of the towns around us did, viewing areas, and yeah, those are some of the programs that we did. Sorry. We also gave out, a stargazing handbook if people participated in the program, but the programs for April were very eclipse based. We gave out thousands of eclipse glasses. So this was just kind of our foot in the door with citizen science. Getting people to track the eclipse was very popular. And then just showing them what they can check out at the library. So we have 2 citizen science kits already. It's the measuring light one is very popular. Having people access the items so that they don't have to purchase them themselves is something that we would like to focus on. They can just check it out, record their data, and then bring the kit back. And then, if they want to do it again, come check it out again. Since we only have 2, next April, we're going to look into showcasing 2 more. We're going to add the zombies. That was a big hit in the elementary age whenever I talked about the citizen science kits at the school and what they could check out. The zombies they were very interested in that one. And then we're also going to add the pollinators kit. So having the materials in hand that they can check out so they are not purchasing, binoculars or notebooks or anything like that to track their data. And then we're also going to do in April showing them how they can log into the accounts, you know, their own citizen science account, that they can track their own data on their own or at school, getting with the science teachers on campus and making their own accounts. And then the globe tracker one, that one is very interesting. So yeah, a lot of outreach, and we have a lot of things planned.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brianna. Since you mentioned kits, I just want to make a short note. As Tara's been writing in the chat, the link to see the library build a kit pages on SciStarter. We've had individuals make their own kits based on different projects too. And so if you're particularly inspired by, let's say, Project Squirrel, you might want to build a kit for Project Squirrel, in which you build this is a true thing that was done. You build a kit that includes like a tracker mold of what a squirrel's footprint looks like. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can bring in other projects into the fold of library kits that fits your community, and a million projects that you can use that are just very different from each other, and just inspire your community to do a lot of different activities beyond being on the computer, beyond going and taking a picture of a flower, etc. So thank you three so much for explaining all of your work that you've done. I'm very excited for April 2025 for you three and all of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of what they talked about, the resources we're going to go through now as well, so that you'll see where they were able to access some of the things that they talked about, like the kit building guides and the promotional materials, and the planning tools. So we have tried our very best to think about everything you might need to conceive of an event, plan the event, prepare for the event, promote the event, host the event, so that, you know, the hard work is shared. And so we have lots of resources here, including the program planning tool, which we'll put well, we're going to show you where all these things live in just a minute. But this is a tool to help you think about sort of like the big picture. What projects are you going to focus on? What resources do you need? We have event recipe cards, which are short sort of templates for certain types of events, like the Great Sunflower Project. If you want to do an event featuring pollinators, it just gives you some sort of quick way to think about, like, what do you need? What's the background? What are the steps of the event? Event preparation checklist, especially in relation to 1 million acts of science. How can you make sure that your event is counted in Citizen Science Month? How the observations are counted during Citizen Science Month, and then obviously, how do you promote that event? We have stickers, flyers, button makers, lots of fun things that you can use. So a very popular event that we like to always promote as sort of like the first thing that you can do if your organization and if your community is not familiar with citizen science is host an introduction to citizen science program. So we have a Foundations of Citizen Science training that anybody can take. If you haven't taken it yet, we encourage everyone to go through this training. It's sort of like a one-on-one on citizen science. And then we have slides and a facilitator guide that anyone can use to sort of host that same training back in their community as an event. It goes through, you know, what is citizen science, what counts, how can you collect data, all of that big picture stuff. So hosting this event, and I think Brianna, you all may have hosted a Foundations of Citizen Science event. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is just a great way to get people engaged right away, and if they're not familiar with citizen science. So, you know, we just have this tool here to help you think about, like, how do you set the stage during this event? How do you take a closer look at citizen science, and a follow-up? And it follows this event follows the slide deck that we have provided for you if you'd like to download that, and you can modify and customize it to whatever projects that you want to feature in that foundational event. Another great event and a popular event is an iNaturalist program event, like a BioBlitz, an event that helps you measure biodiversity in your area to, you know, monitor the health of your ecosystem. So we suggest this event is about an hour long, can happen outdoors, and we, you know, suggest that in this event you review the protocol, think about actually how to collect the data, where the data is going. So you're not just having people go and do like a nature walk, but you really are practicing those skills of observation, of data collection and logging data. So again, just some simple guidance here on how to set the stage, how to talk about biodiversity, And we have some talking points as well for you on the on one of the project pages here. I think that the kit actually has some great talking points, how to collect the data and then how to take action. So these are just 2 examples of event types and these recipe cards. There's several other recipe cards for different types of events. But just curious, now that you're thinking about all of these resources, what citizen science projects or themes come to mind as ones that you're interested in? These could be similar to last year, could be different.
And while we wait for responses, do you want me to show the webpage for Citizen Science Month resources? Cut us some time. Okay, awesome. All right, so while y'all are responding, I'm going to screen share over to the homepage, which is somewhere there. There it is. Ta-da! Now, ta-da. This is the newly released homepage for Citizen Science Month. So if you are introducing anyone to what this is or you want a refresher on everything, we will be updating this regularly with the newer calls to action too. Like today, we are doing their webinar, so that won't be there anymore after today. But we give general instructions. But if you head over as an event planner, if you hit event resources, which I also dropped the link for in the chat, everything you need to plan and promote your event in April. We've broken it down into steps. So you have the basics if you're trying to look into the foundations of citizen science and learning for yourself in the ambassador training module. My poster is right here, by the way. My poster of the how to turn STEM into citizen science is right there, along with planning and facilitation event oh my gosh, resources such as the event recipe cards we just looked at, feature projects that are SciStarter affiliates for now until we have our list of feature projects for April 2025, along with some featured resources like the program planning tool, which I'll open in another tab for y'all to see, where we have essentially a tool that's a fill in the blank of everything you need to consider, or what we have defined as what you need to consider. It's just a guide you can develop and change it however you'd like for your specific purposes, but it's a good way to get started, along with all our event recipe cards and promotional tools. So we have advice on how to promote it. For example, adding your event to SciStarter, which is a definite must. But we have a media toolkit, which I'll open another tab, along with the stickers that Tara mentioned and other items that would be of use for you. So we are here to help. We are here to support. We have a lot of stuff and we want to make it findable. So I'll go ahead and drop my screen share for now so we can find out what y'all wrote on that one page. And I do see some, yes, so I'll drop the link again in the chat for that one page, which is SciStarter.org/Citizen Science Month. I'll do the link to the resources page instead. Resources. There we go. That's a direct link. And there's a lot of things in the chat, so I'm going to scroll through while we look at these. But what citizen science project or theme are you thinking about building an event or program for? And it looks like it's all highlighted. Tara, can you click a button? It might be, hopefully nothing disappears. Guided bird observations, Earth Day related activities, migratory waterfowl, rain garden survey, oyster with East River count air pollution. Okay, lots of, air pollution, oyster with East River count. Gotcha, it was like commas. Monarchs, hoping to do another BioBlitz, Globe at Night. Yeah, these could be just like topics too. If you're not sure of what project it might connect to, that's totally okay. But if you wanted to think about themes, feel free to write themes in too, because that'll also help us understand what projects need to be promoted to you. So I can find projects that might connect well with your audiences.
Well, and I was going to say too, Emma, that once the calendar comes out, you might want to think about doing the projects around the calendar.
Totally, yeah. Yep. And Nest Watch early April, got a lot of stuff in the chat that I'm just trying to sneak through. Birding hike, Merlin bird. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Okay. And that last page, by the way, that was just a look at all, you saw the website, that was better. The website's more fun to look at.
Okay, so now this takes us to the SciStarter Ambassador program, which we are very excited to tell you all about. It is going to be a great resource for folks during Citizen Science Month. And let's dive right into what it is. So this program, the need sort of has come out from, this network of libraries and organizations that are becoming community hubs for citizen science. All of you in your communities are doing wonderful programming, and there's some eager volunteers that would love to be trained and mobilized in order to support and sustain this programming. And so that's what we're here to do with the SciStarter Ambassador program, is to mobilize this group of volunteers that wants to take it one step further and become ambassadors of citizen science in their community and support community-based organizations like libraries to be able to host events, not just during April, but during April as well. So right now we just onboarded our first cohort of ambassadors. There is an application, there's a training and an application process. So this is a selective program. We have in order to complete it, individuals from diverse backgrounds. You don't need to have any sort of level of experience with citizen science and SciStarter, deep level of experience, just an interest and awareness of citizen science and some participation in the past. And then completing the foundations training, completing the SciStarter Ambassador training. Both are online self-guided tutorials. And then completing the application. And we just onboarded Paul's in our first cohort of ambassadors, first 50, and then we're recruiting for our next 50 ambassadors to be onboarded in December. So that is, Emma, did you just put the link in the chat? You probably did. Oh, I didn't see it yet. So Emma will drop the apply link in the chat. We would love, librarians to apply, and also your own volunteers to apply. Oh yeah, Darren's in cohort 1 too. And Azra. There's lots of cohort 1 people here representing. Thank you for joining us. So ambassadors, their goal is to champion and promote the value of citizen science. So they might be a great resource if you're looking for somebody to host one of those foundations of citizen science events. They're equipped to be able to talk about citizen science in an accessible way, using the resources. They're familiar with SciStarter resources and are able to, tell you about different projects and connect you to how to build kits and other opportunities that you might want to do. And then again, facilitate different programming as well in your community. So the way that we are doing this is through this database, an ambassador directory. I'm just going to skip this slide because I basically said all of this. This ambassador directory. So the first 50 beautiful faces are on SciStarter, and you can connect with them. Some might be willing to do virtual engagement as well. And we're trying, our best to recruit people from all across the country so that they meet the diverse needs of communities everywhere. So yeah, take a look and see who our first, if there's an ambassador around you, we would love for you to engage with them. And there's an ambassador inquiry form. So you will go on to once you, select if an ambassador, you can complete the inquiry form to let them know what type of event you're looking for support with. So we'd love this. Still in sort of beta. Well, it's alpha. It's out there, but sorry, my child has returned from school. But so we don't know how this is going to go necessarily. Okay, so Rebecca asked, how is the ambassador program different from the one for libraries? So it's building off of that program. Ambassadors are really, they are getting, they have to complete the training and they have to apply. And once they are selected, they actually receive a kit of materials. They are sent an orientation. So it's a little bit more intense than the library network, which is for any library that wants to be able to receive information about SciStarter. We do have librarians becoming ambassadors as well. So if you would like to become an ambassador, that is open to you as well. I know Rachel's here, she's a librarian. And so some librarians are, they want to take that next step too and own that ambassador badge at their library. Anything else you want to say, Emma?
Yeah, I just want to note too, the library network, there's no specified requirements. It's just, when you sign up for it, it just is basically telling us that you are interested in citizen science and are a community of wanting to learn more and do more related around citizen science. But if you sign up, it's also a avenue into getting our newsletters for the library network, which is as we have information, we send them out where you get all the updates on what's happening next, preparation for Citizen Science Month, other resources like ambassadors that came out in previous newsletters in the last month or so to just give you more insight. And so there's no real, it's not you're not forced into any particular activities as a part of the library network. It's a community of practice and knowledge sharing.
Right. And the ambassadors, they're expected to support at least 2 events between now and April.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or over the course
Emma,
of the year.
Tell us how else we can participate in April this year.
Yes. So this year we're trying something a little bit new as a way to figure out who our network is and who is all involved in Citizen Science Month. As a part of our work, we are evaluated, and so we want to ensure that we understand what you all need and what we can accomplish within Citizen Science Month, especially if we're aiming for 1 million acts of science. Again, we want to get to that point. And so we offer a lot. We want to make sure that we offer a lot to you. And so we want to offer you promotions for your events. We want to give you early access to these resources like the media kit, which is available, marketing materials, the program in a box resources like the event recipe cards, and the interactive April calendar, which will hopefully be out to you all by January. I'm crossing my fingers in extreme hope for that. And so we're trying to get these things out to you as early as possible and give you access to things quicker and easier and guided. So to the ambassadors or subject matter experts, you can reach out to us, or to ambassadors to become subject matter experts for you, depending on their history and experience. And we want to be able to help you one-on-one if necessary to help you with ideation of these programs and events and help you find those projects that relate most to your community. And this year, we're also trying to be able to give you survey results specific to your events and programs. And so with all these things in mind, we're starting a new version of asking for whether or not you want to be involved through a form of a pledge. So if you go to the next slide, I think. Possibly. Yes, there we go. Oh, too far. So this time around, we're sending out a form that will drop in the chat shortly, where we want to promote Citizen Science Month. And to do that, we need your help. And so we would like you to help us promote Citizen Science with Citizen Science period, but also the month itself through social media and even your web presence, maybe even adding the SciStarter website to your website, or 1millionaccessscience.org/citizensciencemonth.org to your site. We want you to host events. We also want you to share events that are happening or host watch parties for events that are happening from our bigger partners, like the events that we host that I'll actually show you a sneak peek for soon. And we want you to be able to register your events with us so that even if they're not public, like if they're private events, that's totally fine. But they can still be registered with us as a part of the month. So it's a part of the global picture, the bigger effort here. And so it'll show up on SciStarter, but it'll be noted as maybe a private event, or you want to have more people as a part of from the SciStarter community knowledgeable about your events. And because we're aiming for 1 million acts of science, we want you to be able to report acts of science, estimated acts of science from your events, or even personally just being able to report acts of science that you do, whether you do a specific project and submit a lot of data that way, or you have a group together and you count attendance and also however many acts of science is estimated from that group. And to be able to learn from you all, we have a participant survey that will be out in March to share with your community members and see what they're learning and how beneficial this is for your community. And so with all that in mind, we have a form that's, we have a QR code on the next slide, and then I will drop the link in the chat as well for you all for the pledge. If you want to take a couple minutes and just look through it right now, I would highly recommend it. You are very welcome to literally fill it out. It's not an intense, it's not an intense form. It's pretty short, but essentially it's just asking you to what are you like expecting and anticipating being able to do in April as a part of this. So if you feel pretty good about what you've heard today, we would love to hear from you about what you want to accomplish and where you are. And so in that pledge, you'll see the general information about how to or who you are, but also what you anticipate doing and any other comments you want to bring up or questions you might have. So we can provide you with that one-on-one support as well. And so while you're doing that too, and I dropped the link in the chat, but the QR code is going to go away. Because we're a little short on time, I'm going to push us to the next slide, but you're very welcome to just be filling that out while you're listening in as well. And on the next slide, we have some precursor. We don't have all the information yet, but we have a couple of requests and or a secondary request, I guess, here, and also some ideas for the, oh, yes, I added the link just above that, Nancy, if I'll repost it. Sorry about that. In addition to the pledge, we are adding more to the website and designing things on the website intermittently. And we know so many of you do some amazing things. And so if you have particularly exciting things going on at your library or cool shelf talkers and whatnot that you'd like to share with us, we would love to see them because we like to display those as examples for other libraries, either in our Google Drive of resources or in future trainings as examples. And so if you have ideas around that, we would love to see them. I'll drop our the Library Network email in the chat as well. Library Network at SciStarter.org. Pretty difficult to remember, clearly. Send us pictures. Library Network at SciStarter.org. There we go. Perfect. So we have that going, and then also a sneak peek for 2025 in April. We as SciStarter, we host events too throughout the month, and so we have a set of tentative ideas and dates around a couple of activities that we want to make sure that you're aware of, so that you can feel a little bit more of a even if you just want to do hosting watch parties and such, you have options coming forward. So the International Moth Week group and I chatted and want to do an International Moth Night. So if you like moths and butterflies and whatnot, and you want to do an outdoorsy activity, a moth night is a great one. And so we'll be doing something with that group as well. The Do NASA Science Live series is a virtual series from us that we work with in partnership with NASA and NASA Citizen Science Projects. And so we have an event which you can save the date right now. It's on April 10th. We don't have a registration link yet, but I will make sure to get that out to you as soon as I can. And so that's a really exciting event that we're really excited for in general. And then on no date for it yet, but we also have, for any of you who are in universities, and even if you're not, it's not closed to anyone but universities, but the Leave No Trace team hosts a week-long Leave No Trash Behind competition or challenge across universities across the nation, and they are announcing their 2025 April plans very soon. In fact, they will do it with us during SciStarter Live. So I will actually drop a link in the chat for you to register for that right now if you'd like. And that would be and that one's scheduled, or that event to learn about it is scheduled for the 19th of November. And so if you want to learn more about that, anyone is welcome. You don't have to be a part of a university. And then we also have from our group, our funders and the people who support this entire month, the All of Us research program through the National Network of the National Libraries of Medicine. They are hosting several different events that are great for watch parties as well, involving how to look at science research outcomes from health data across the US. And so if that is of interest to you, we have a really great event planning team for that set of projects or set of events. And so those will be coming out soon too. So we have a lot happening in the month of April 2025 already, and we're excited to be able to give you actual dates for these later on. And I want to make sure that we cover all our bases of exciting things. And so rest assured that January time period, we'll get a calendar out to you that might even grow beyond January, right? We might add things later. So things will keep growing, but we want to make sure you're at least looking forward to the things we're already too excited to not share. Double negative was a little confusing there. We're excited to share is the point. Anything to add there, Tara?
No, I think that was really great. Somebody did have one question about the kits. I did answer it, but for those who are interested in the kits that that Brianna was talking about, we don't supply kits at SciStarter, but we've made it easy to build kits specifically for 5 projects. And you can go to those at the Build a Kit guides. You can click the links and it'll take you right to different Amazon or purchasing places for the tools. And we're happy to help with that if anybody has questions about materials. But thank you all so much for attending today. We are at the top of the hour and we made it, Emma. We made it through 50 slides. We did it. So thank you all. Thank you to our panelists, Paul, Brianna, and Sarah. And we really hope to see even more engagement in April. And we're probably going to host another one of these webinars for people to plan sometime in the winter. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. Talk to you all